And hello once again, this is Ted Hicks. This is Late Night Parents, Late Night Parent Radio Hour. Do this once a week. Big shout out to our home studio and home station, 1240 AM WGBB, Long Island, New York. Want to shout out one of our affiliates that we haven't shouted out in a while. Maybe about a year, and because I got a phone call about it. Mile High Radio in Colorado, internet radio station out of Colorado. Mr. Bobby Blackjack. Richie V, how you doing?
I'm good, Teddy Ted. What's going on, man?
Nothing, man. We're back for another week. A lot of stuff has transpired over this past week. Puerto Rico is still Puerto Rico.
Puerto Rico is still Puerto Rico. Citizens are still citizens, and water needs to flow.
Yeah.
And food and everything else for that.
And everything else. That needs to happen. Not sure where to start with that, because that's starting something on a lull, on a down, on a downward spiral. We don't want to talk healthcare because of the, fumbling and bumbling going on with that.
The disassembly of the Affordable Care Act?
Yes. We're watching it right in front of our eyes. It being, there was someone who said it was going to be imploded.
Yep.
It's imploding.
No, it's being disassembled, torn apart. Whatever you can do, it seems, to erase what the previous administration put in place. That seems to be the intent here.
Yeah, it's once again, like I said, it's something else that we're not happy to talk about, but we are talking about it. But I want to tell you, before we get into this, I'm wearing, you didn't ask me about my sweatshirt.
Wait, you're wearing, it's the Hempstead Raiders, and I know why, of course.
The Hempstead Raiders sweatshirt. The $38 sweatshirt.
Supporting youth football
Supporting
in beautiful
youth football.
Hempstead, New York. I've seen those pictures you got out there. Nemo fully suited up.
Fully suited up.
Making hits, taking hits.
Taking hits. And every time he takes a hit, I cringe.
Well,
I cringe.
Be careful. Do have to be careful.
Mm-hmm.
We went through that 3 times because all 3 boys played football.
Right.
I didn't do quite as much cringing. I'm sure Linda did some cringing.
Right.
There were some hits. There were some hard ones. And the boys will tell you even now, yeah, they have aches and pains.
Right.
To this day. But it's football.
It's football. Want to switch gears a little bit because we go from football to football. And this past week, Bruce Arena, the U.S. men's soccer coach, stepped down. He stepped down because they did not qualify for the 2018 World Cup.
See, well, you know what? I fully admit, again, of course, as I've said multiple times, not the big sports guy.
No.
But you know that I will watch and do enjoy certain sports, especially when it's their postseason.
You do.
No question about it.
You enjoy the World Cup. I mean, you think about it, being in downtown Manhattan.
Yep.
Every pub, tavern, restaurant.
Oh yeah.
Around noon.
Lights up. All you hear is yelling. Let someone score, and it's goal.
Right.
It's awesome. And again, because we do live in New York, all you have to do is travel to pretty much any corner for any nationality for whoever may be playing, and there will be a crowd in there. So, sure.
Well, as you know, soccer itself is evolving, which is evident not only in the rising attendance and viewership rates, but also in the emergence of new sports TV networks and soccer clubs. On the phone right now, we have, for additional insight into soccer-related issues and trends, we turn to our good friend Todd Bascom, who's a friend of the show, for the latest trends. Todd is dad, former youth athlete, youth coach, and sports enthusiast. Todd, welcome to the show.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
Hey, Todd. How are you? Welcome.
I'm good.
That's good. So, Todd, we're going to get into it. What are the biggest issues facing U.S. soccer today?
They didn't make the World Cup. I'd say that's issue number one right now. And in many U.S. soccer fans' minds, that's the only issue at this point. So I suppose the real question that they're all asking, and that all U.S. soccer fans, even the casual fans, is asking is why.
Right.
And it's a lot. There's a lot of things. So I'd say the biggest issue really is just where's the game going from here in this country. And that's kind of what we have to answer as fans and U.S. soccer itself.
You know, as Ted and I were just discussing, and as you yourself, of course, with children, what's the very first sport, it seems, at least for the last 20 years, the first sport you put the kids out there is soccer. You know, I guess that's the easiest one. They can run, they can chase the ball, they can kick the ball, start learning the basics, you know, start to learn how to play on a team. So it's not like the awareness and the availability of soccer hasn't been around the U.S. for quite some time. I mean, of course, we go farther back than that, 20 years. But I mean, what do you think is the long-term outlook for professional soccer in the U.S.?
Well, I think you hit on something that really gets to the heart of the why that I was kind of alluding to. As you said, I think I've heard and read in places that soccer is, and as far as youth at certain age levels, is the most heavily participated sport in the country. I don't know that for a fact. I believe I've read that before. I wouldn't doubt it, just anecdotally looking at leagues and the league I'm involved in and that I coach in. So, as you said, the participation is there. The player development is there from age 5 on up to 13, 14, 15. The coaching is there. The leagues are there. Everything. The infrastructure is in place. Where we go wrong, in my opinion, is from 14 to 19. It seems that player development just kind of ceases. Why? I don't know. I guess that's around the time where kids are going to high school, so they might be playing in their high school teams, and then some of them that are good enough might go on to college, and that pretty much is it. That was kind of my path. I played in high school, and that was the end of that. So the development issue is different. So if you look at the European model, what you'll see is that development doesn't stop at 13, 14 years old. So just throwing out a football club that everyone will have heard of. Let's say Manchester United.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm a kid. I grew up in Manchester. I'm playing with the Manchester United Youth Academy, and maybe I'm 10 years old. And I continue right on through that academy until I'm 16, 17, 18 years old. And if I'm good enough, I've got a path right to the big club from 10 years old.
Right.
I'm pretty much being developed by the Manchester United organization. And we don't have that here. And this is, I think, why you're getting better players coming out of. I mean, we have 300 and something million people in this country. We should be able to develop soccer players, but we don't. I mean, here and there are great ones, but so I think that's where the disconnect is, and the question becomes, well, how do we do that?
So, what in your mind makes a good soccer fan?
The thing that I see most when I look at soccer in this country, and it's really just applies, I think, to a fan of any sport, and it's really just as simple as understanding sport, understand what you're watching, understand what you're seeing, and you know how it is with sports. A lot of fans are just loud mouths and mouth breathers that. I could take this opportunity to take shots at Yankee fans, but I won't do that. But I mean, just understand what you're watching and develop your knowledge of the game, especially as it goes to soccer, where maybe some casual fans might want to become more serious about the game. So that's what I would say is it, really. Learn the game.
Okay, well, that sounds fair. So I guess tangentially then, with sports, especially in the U.S., fantasy sports is just as big, it seems, maybe even bigger than live sports. What extent has U.S. soccer gotten or been embraced by the fantasy sports leagues, even with the daily fantasy model?
I don't think fantasy has had a huge impact in that sport. Soccer is kind of hard to kind of put in the fantasy mold, and I think the biggest reason is that it's not really statistically driven, like baseball, basketball, football. Football, how many yards did the guy throw for? How many touchdowns did this guy catch?
Right.
Basketball, how many points did Steph Curry score? How many, it's very easily, and there are not very many statistical categories with soccer. So it just really doesn't lend it to, you get, how many goals did he score? And that's about it.
Got it.
So there's not really a lot of numbers to drive the fantasy model. So I could imagine, I haven't played fantasy soccer. I'm not sure that it exists or not. I guess it does. But I could imagine it being very boring.
Right.
So that's what I'd say about that.
So you mentioned, of course, that you have children that are playing. So I don't, if your child is an elite youth soccer player, or if they were an elite soccer player, would you encourage them to go MLS or to go for one of the premier international leagues?
I would send if. Are you saying, like, if I had a child that had a chance to be like an elite player,
yes,
like playing? No, I would pack his bags or her. I would pack their bags to Germany or England as soon as I could.
Got it.
So, like, look at Christian Pulisic, the boy wonder of the U.S. team. He, right now, I believe he's 18, 19 years old, and he's playing for Dortmund in Germany. Whereas if he were still here, he might be in college,
right,
playing against bums like me and not learning anything because he's beating people like me up every day on a college soccer field. Guys that have played in high school and they might be good enough to get a scholarship somewhere, but they do or don't, and you can't get better that way. I mean, if you guys, I know Ted has kids in sports, and his son, if he were running over the opposition every day on this, you'd probably want to get him a higher level of competition.
Right.
So, no, I would send my child somewhere else in a minute, rather than sending him through MLS or something. I mean, MLS is still, in the world of soccer, it's an inferior league. It's nowhere near on par with EPL or the German Bundesliga or the Spanish leagues, or it's just not. And I think part of where U.S. soccer is the kind of the arrogance to think that we were getting to that level, and clearly we're not. So, I took a long way to answer your question, but no, I wouldn't even come close to encouraging my child to pursue anything in the MLS right now.
Todd, the U.S. women's soccer team recently negotiated higher pay and are also receiving the same travel perks as their male counterparts. Do you think other sports will follow this example to increase the pay equity between male and female athletes?
No, and I don't think they should. And that might be unpopular, but that's just looking at it on the surface.
Okay.
I think in soccer, if you ask me, the women probably deserve to be paid more, because the way I look at it is that it should be relative to what your value in the marketplace is. I think that I've read in the past that the women's national team was actually bringing in more revenue than the men's team. I don't know if that fluctuates. It probably does. It may change year to year, but even if they're anywhere close, clearly the women deserve to be paid what the men are, if not more. I think so. I kind of think it should be dictated by market forces. If the market is bringing in more money for the women, why shouldn't they make more? Or if they're bringing in the same money, why shouldn't they be paid equally? Now, the reason I said that it shouldn't be that way in other sports is, well, let's take the WNBA and the NBA.
Okay.
If you want to start paying Elena Delagon the same money that you're paying LeBron James, that league ain't going to last very long, is it? Because they're just not bringing in the revenue.
Not necessarily.
So, it for me, it's a market thing. It's what does the market bear? And I think in the case of the U.S. women's national team, it certainly was in order that they be paid on par with, if not more than the men, for sure. But you got to take that on a league-by-league, case-by-case basis.
All right. This is Late Night Parents. The ways to follow the show, latenightparents.com. You're speaking with Rich Valdez. I'm Ted Hicks, and we're speaking with our guest, Todd Bascom. Todd, this was a solid discussion on soccer, and I know we're going to come back and talk hockey again now with the hockey season coming up. Well, how do we increase hockey? I mean, this is a discussion that we can have each and every year, and at some point, the NHL or NBC or whomever their partners are need to hire you, because I think
Okay.
you can fix the problem about the popularity within the states. Want to thank you for coming on the show, and hey, best ways of getting in contact with you. I know you do frequent social media. If any of our listeners want to get in touch with you, what would be the best way to contact you via social media?
I have a Twitter account. I'm not super active with it. I really just kind of, most of my pontificating is done over the air with people like you rather than on social media. But if anyone does, I have a Twitter page. You can probably look my name up, TODDBASCOM, and you'll find me. And if you want to follow, every now and then I have a little nugget for everyone. But otherwise, I look forward to being on with you and you guys and telling you what I think.
You got it.
Todd, thanks again for joining us. Look forward to the next time we speak.
All right. Thanks for having me.
All right. Thanks again.
Take care.
No problem.
So the state of soccer, I think it's a very bright future. As with anything else, there's the U.S. and then there's abroad.
Yes.
Two different markets.
But, we've been having this, like you just mentioned about hockey. We've
Yes.
also been having the same conversation about soccer for years.
Of course.
And it doesn't seem that it really, from my non-fan perspective, it doesn't seem like it's really going past a certain point. And there's got to be a reason for it. Todd may have hit on some of it, just in how it's treated in the schools. Because, for example, this last weekend, this past Saturday, was our homecoming for our local high school football team. And that's a whole big shindig.
Yes.
And, everyone outside in the parking lot and tailgating and parades and the whole 9 yards. That doesn't happen for soccer.
Not at all.
You might get a little something for baseball. You
might get a little something, but in the States, it's football and
correct
everything else.
And then there may be the other major factor, the seasons.
Okay.
And I'm asking you, what season does the soccer season correspond with?
It's kind of like two seasons.
Okay.
There's a spring season and there's like a fall season.
Okay, so fall season is in the middle of football season,
right?
In the middle of American football season.
Yes, in the middle of American football season.
So you can forget that.
And that's based off of So I also follow the NWSL. That's a step or two below MLS.
Okay.
That's the league that has the Cosmos.
Okay.
So, and they do their season. It's kind of broken up into two different seasons. There's spring/summer, and then there's the fall.
All right.
When it's kind of at the point, you're at the tipping point. Well, not now, because nowadays it's 80 degrees in New York in almost November. But usually, previously in the past, I've attended New York Cosmo games when they were playing at Hofstra University. It's like almost November. It's freezing out there.
Right.
So you're dealing with that. I just think it's the culture. And can you expand it? I think you can expand it. It's just going to take time, like anything else. I mean, hockey outside the U.S. in Canada is through the roof.
Yes, it is. But here,
not so much.
Not so much.
But you go to the individual venues, and they're packed.
Right.
But it's not the overflow.
Right.
It's not the overall overflow that you see with football or going to Madison Square Garden to watch the Knicks play, even though they might be a terrible team. That doesn't stop the fact that it's the hottest ticket in town.
Exactly. They're out there, and the fans are screaming or booing.
Right.
But the fans are there. And they're wearing the jerseys and the caps.
Yes.
And buying the sneakers.
Buying all the merchandise and everything, putting money into these athletes' pockets. Right. And, and occasionally the athlete or organization lets that fan down.
Right.
They either let them down by the way that they carry themselves professionally, or the one thing I can't get over is, the $14 watered down beer that I will never let down. I will never let go of that.
And neither will I, because there's just no reason for it.
The really $7 bottle of water. I mean, and you wonder why you go a couple of nights. Well, you go to maybe a couple of games a year,
right?
Because you've actively priced yourself out.
Yeah, don't try to take the family of 5.
No,
and expect to walk out for under tickets and all. What, $800?
Right.
If everyone wants to get something to eat, and you want to park, and you want to buy a souvenir, everyone's got to have. Come on now.
It's kind of crazy. So, I think tonight we have a special caller who's going to join us. There's so many different people you meet across social media.
Right.
People that you never physically might ever meet in your life.
Right. But you've communicated many times.
Right.
Hey, Jesse, how are you? Hope you're doing well.
Right. And she's in Brooklyn.
And she's in Brooklyn, right.
She's in Brooklyn. You know, I remember one time with Jesse, it was so funny. There was an event. I couldn't go to it. Mm-hmm. And I just texted her. I said, hey, can you go to this event? If you can, here's the tickets.
Right.
You know, and that's the beauty of social media.
Yep.
You know, everyone out there isn't always bad.
No.
Everyone out there isn't always fake news either.
I think many are not fake news. Fake news. More fake news, more fake news.
Yeah. Everyone is not, a part of the Kremlin's team to get someone elected and segregate people and all of this other craziness that we hear every day.
That we're led to believe.
But before the caller calls up, I just wanted to get your take on what had come up. I think we were tweeting back and forth about it. The Roku stick.
The new one?
The new one. It's too good to be that small and that cheap, and it's 4K. And Richie V, have you had your hands on it yet?
No, but I've got plans on it.
Okay.
I've got plans on it. I could use a good 4K streamer.
Okay.
With the TV. Got to, of course, have the 4K TV now.
It's true 4K. For a little while.
It's true 4K.
Okay.
So I figure, you know what? I already have the Roku box upstairs with that TV, but it's not a 4K box.
Okay.
So I need to get the upgrade. This is perfect. It's small, inobtrusive, true 4K. Let's put it out there. So I don't think I'll have it for the next show.
Okay.
But maybe the show after that.
Okay.
I'll have it.
Gotcha. And so the Roku, the appliance, the stick and everything like that, it just allows you to log into all your related services?
As I understand, yes. If you're a Roku, again, not having it in hand, but as I understand, sure. If you're a Roku subscriber, you log in to your account, what you've had.
How much is Roku a month?
It's cheap enough that I don't think about it.
Okay. So it's less than $9 a month?
It might be like 14.
Okay.
I'd have to look. But it's not out of hand.
Okay. I say that because I ordered a Roku stick. I did order one. And I think I told you about 3-4 weeks ago, I actually purchased Roku stock just before they went.
Yes, you did.
IPO, I was sitting there and I bought 5 shares.
You still holding them?
Still holding
Good.
them.
That's just hold them at least 6 months. You'll see it's gonna whatever, because I'm sure you bought it. It spiked up. It dropped down. Hold it. It will go back up.
Gotcha. And I will probably after the show try the Roku stick and logging in and seeing what services are available.
All of your subscriptions will be there. So
okay.
I mean, I know you're already in Amazon. You're in Amazon Prime.
Yes.
So you'll be able to log into your Amazon Prime account.
Okay.
You'll be able to log into your Netflix account.
Okay.
If through your Verizon Fios you have any premium channels, you'll be able to log into all of the associated, HBO Goes, Showtime Goes, AMC, Movie Channel, History Channel. You'll be able to log into all of those accounts.
Okay.
And there are a ton of Roku-specific or Roku-only channels that are available, which are in their shop, which some are free, some are subscription, every topic you can think of. Those should all be available. And then there's the non-official Roku channels, which, do your Google search, and you can find hundreds more channels and content available there.
Is it like public TV type stuff?
Some of it is, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we will continue this conversation on the other side of this interview. And so in the queue, so I mentioned that I've met a whole bunch of people with in regards to on social media.
Right.
All different types of topics. Going back and forth and tweeting with people and arguing with some people and challenging people, and that's the I guess the core of using Twitter.
Got it.
All right. I believe in the queue we have none other than Q Sanders. He's doing a quick drive-by. I guess he wants to talk about the LA Dodgers, and he has a new video and song, which we will not play on this show yet. However,
why won't we play it, Ted?
Well, we want to lead up to it.
Okay.
That, and I want to make sure the Dodgers make it into the World Series.
Yeah, that makes good sense.
Q, what's going on?
What's good with you, Ted? How you living, brother?
Pretty good, pretty good. Happy to have you here. We got in the studio, Rich Valdez is also with me, Q. Pleasure to have you. What's going on with this song? What's going on with the concept? I know you don't have a lot of time, but I know you want to promote it.
Yeah, first off, thanks a lot for having us on here, man. I mean, the song is, I'm a New Yorker, as we can probably tell by the way I speak. So I am a Yankee. Yeah, I am a Yankee fan, Ted. Of course. But, LA is that's my second home, and also that's my National League team. So, I'm pushing for an NY-LA World Series, kind of what you touched on. But we did this song because I'm just a sport enthusiast, man. I love sports. I love my teams, and so we did this song that I think that, the Dodgers fans, they're going to really get behind. The ones that have heard it, we've got a tremendous amount of support. And so we just want everybody to continue to touch it up and continue to support it. And then we have something playing special for them later on. So we're looking forward to coming out and spreading it through your community. Definitely.
It's always a pleasure. I'm thinking probably next week we got to debut it. I mean, I've seen it. I've seen the video. Thank you to your team for allowing me to view it. We're definitely going to tweet it out and all the above. But when you come back, we definitely want to talk about your inspiration for, being in the music business, being an indie artist, all the above. Because it's not easy nowadays, is it?
No, it's a different game. It's an independent game, which I kind of like a little bit. But it also still makes it, really difficult. But like you said, when you got a team like I got, big shout out to Tango, my partner. Big shout out to Bones Rock. When you got a team like I got, it kind of makes it a lot more easier. It makes it a lot more fun. And the things that you do, when you love music, it's in your blood. So you can't sleep without music, and that's just kind of how I am.
Gotcha. Q.
Yeah, man.
Want to definitely thank you for just coming through really quick. Hey, if
definitely
our listeners want to follow you on social media in regards to the song, if they don't want to wait for the show to hear it or for me to retweet it or all the above, how would they get in contact with you?
Well, I mean, my Twitter handle is, at Mr. NYQUE Sanders, so that's New York, QUE Sanders. You can also find the link for the video on there. It's also at TLR Worldwide LLC. That's the at TLR. So with both of those links, I'm sure they're on your page. And
yes, sir.
Yeah, that'll be the best way for everybody to be able to check it out. I encourage Dodger fans and any sport enthusiasts, or just everyone that just listens to the show, period, to check it out. And then come back and see us when we get some time to come down to the studio and hang out with my man Ted. But Ted, honestly, thank you for having us on here right now. And, we're definitely looking forward to the next time.
All right. Thanks again.
Thanks, Q.
Thank you, man.
All right.
Take care.
You too. All right. You got to send me that link, Ted, because I need to hear this. I need to hear it.
I was going back and forth with a few people. Mm-hmm. It was so funny because we were talking what were we talking? Were we talking Russia, or we were talking Trump, or we were talking Benghazi? I was going back and forth with a few people, and there was one person on the sideline. We just started talking.
Right.
We just started talking, and the that click happened.
Okay.
And that's when you start to notice. I'm like, wait a minute, you're a New Yorker too. You're like, so why are we going back and forth over XYZ? Because those are the best conversations when you have a direct message conversation where everyone's not retweeting and adding into
one-on-one. You have, like you said, a conversation, a real communication, and that makes all the difference. Something, because we were just having our Roku conversation there.
Yes.
You asked me a question, and I was thinking, so many different subscriptions. Roku is free once you bought it.
Oh, okay.
So once you buy that, you spend whatever you spend for your device. There is no more monthly fee or anything like that.
Okay.
So everything is tied in. So it's a beautiful thing.
Got you. Because, eventually I'd like to bring the YouTube show to Roku.
Absolutely. There's a YouTube app for. I'm glad that's another service. There's a YouTube app for Roku.
Nice.
So get on there, log in, put in your credentials, and your YouTube channels are there.
Got you.
It's all there.
So the one thing that we haven't talked about this week, and when people aren't talking Trump or all the above, people have been talking about Harvey Weinstein, the Weinstein Company, and sexual assault, and Hollywood, and who knew, who didn't know, and all the above. And it's very, very scary because you got people who've come out to say, I've been assaulted.
Right.
I said this.
Right.
And no one listened.
But so many people coming out.
Yes.
And was it this morning, I believe? It's either the Directors Guild or the Producers Guild. He's been removed as a member from there. Yep.
Expelled.
Let's let our guest get on here so you can join the conversation.
Yes. So in the queue is none other than our good friend Todd Vandenberg, who is co-host of Cinema Savants, which I think outside of this podcast, when we put it on in podcast form, I listen to Cinema Savants, and it gives me additional insight on the movie industry, the ratings, the stats, the box office, who's doing what, indies versus, Academy Awards. But it's a very serious topic because sexual assault, Harvey Weinstein, and how Hollywood is totally complicit in this matter. Want to welcome Todd Vandenberg. Todd, how you doing?
I'm doing great, gentlemen. And a one-on-one, and in this case, one-on-one conversation is certainly the best. I'm glad we're just not retweeting what each of us have said live. That would be kind of weird.
Absolutely.
But before we get into the serious topic, though, I do want to say the Roku devices are awesome. Plus, you can pick them up, take them with you, take them to a friend's house, plug it in, use their Wi-Fi, and you have your subscriptions with you, or go on vacation, et cetera, et cetera. So they're wonderful. Anyway, Mr. Weinstein. There's a ton of outrage about this, and there should be. And there's a lot of outrage over elitist Hollywood, how they claim to be liberal and how they've supported this culture, and they have for decades, and there should be outrage about this. Having said that, Harvey Weinstein is not the disease. Harvey Weinstein is not a cancer on society. He is a malignant polyp, and he's been excised, as he should be. And if he's guilty of any of these crimes, he should be in jail, and I expect he will be. But he's not the problem. Hollywood is not the problem. The casting couch is not the problem. The problem is our society. I mean, there's someone who has slightly more power than Harvey Weinstein, who in 2005 said, I'm automatically attracted to beautiful. I just start kissing them. It's like a magnet. Just kiss. I don't even wait. And when you're a star, they let you do it. You can do anything.
You can do anything.
Grab them by the blank. You can do anything.
Yes.
That came out in 2016, and his supporters said that's just locker room talk.
I know I've never spoken like that in a locker room. Have you, Ted?
I never have either.
I don't think you have
as
either.
of today, the campaign has been subpoenaed regarding a sexual assault case that was brought against him years ago. And they are asking for all documents concerning any woman who asserted that Donald J. Trump touched her inappropriately.
Wow. Good.
So this is not an issue of Harvey Weinstein. This is just one little blip about it. The problem is, and it's not Donald Trump is not the problem either, but he is a bigger example of this than Harvey Weinstein. In 2013, Donald Trump tweeted, 26,000 unreported sexual assaults in the military, only 238 convictions. What did these geniuses expect when they put men and women together?
Right.
My guess is they expected that men would not rape women just because they were in physical proximity.
Right.
That's how civilized people act. They don't assume that, oh, there's a woman, I get to rape her. That is the problem, is that we have far too many people in our society who look at people who are different from them, whether they're women, whether they're a different race, a different religion, as something less than they are, and they have the right to do whatever they want to do to them, and it's okay. And there are people who empower that kind of behavior because look who's in the office, despite admitting to sexual harassment, at the least, sexual assault, and it appears to be that was okay with about 61 million people. I don't understand that. So Harvey Weinstein, absolutely, he should be in jail if he's guilty of anyone. And, we shouldn't try people in the media.
It's true. It's true.
Because we're really good at it. However, come on, we all know the guy's guilty, so be in jail for the rest of your life. He's lost his power. He hasn't lost his money, but he's lost his power, and power is what matters to predators.
Yes.
It's all about power. It's not about sex. It's about power. But 60 million people are complicit in this. It's not Hollywood. It's not Harvey Weinstein. It's this attitude that, well, you can't do anything about it, so I'm going to do what I want because I have more power than you. Again, not excusing anything Weinstein did.
Sure.
But until every group of parents, not just in this country but around the world, but especially in this country because that's where we're living, starts raising their boys to respect young ladies and not treat them like whatever the hell they think they are, not humans, apparently, this is going to continue. So, this uproar over Weinstein, it's just the latest blip. That's all it is, and it's going to disappear in a while, and he'll be in jail if he belongs there, and he probably does, and that's okay. But is that going to change anything? I really don't think it's going to change anything. We have a lot of problems in this country. I'm not going to get into the details of it because I know you guys have talked about it in the past, but major problems and terrible things happen, and there's outrage, and then nothing happens.
Right.
So I don't really care about the Harvey Weinstein case. I mean, okay, fine. I'm glad that it's coming out. I'm glad he's going to be punished for what he did. I'm glad the women who were victims of him, last I read, it's at least 30, which means it's probably hundreds.
That's true.
I'm glad they're going to have their, let's say, day in court, and if in actuality they probably will. Great for them. But that's just, like I said, that's excising one polyp. That's not changing the bigger issue, which is how our society deals with this or fails to deal with it. That's why I'm so angry about it, because, fine, you're getting rid of one very powerful sexual predator. Great. Are you changing the attitudes in the country?
Well, no. that's kind of what you have to, and I don't mean to cut you off, but that's what you have to hope that it does. You have to hope that it will do a couple of things. One, you have to hope that it'll raise awareness, because here we have, one of, Hollywood's power players, completely busted here, allegedly, because of course, when nothing's going to trial yet, so we'll preface everything with allegedly, okay? I said it for everything. Allegedly, having committed these crimes, one of the Hollywood powerhouses or power elite, for him to get busted with this, it's got to make a few people say, oh my God, it'll be like that. Oh my God, how could he do this? Could this be true? How could this happen here? And then more and more stories will start coming out about how these situations happen in Hollywood, up and down, from, in film, in music videos, in the music industry. This, there's nothing new. And this really, unfortunately, should not be a surprise to anyone. And the second thing, you have to hope that it will enable more people to say something when they see something going wrong, or when something happens to them, or when they become aware that it's happened to a friend or coworker or acquaintance or just someone else, and they know it, that they will stand up and say something. That's what you have to hope that this situation brings out. I mean, you're right. He is just another guilty, or another alleged person who has committed the crime out there, one of many for sure. But again, you want this to start conversations, to open the floodgates a little bit, so that more people who may have been committing these crimes are brought to the forefront.
The only thing I will say, Todd, before we turn it back over to you, is this is a total Pandora's box. The first domino to fall.
You hope. Yeah.
I believe.
Yeah.
What were you going to say, Todd?
Well, first I was going to say, Richie, you didn't cut me off. I was out of oxygen, so that was perfect timing. My worry is that this is going to be cast as, oh yeah, this is Hollywood, as opposed to this is America, because it's not just Hollywood.
Right.
And I hope it opens up in a Pandora's box. It certainly looks like it is, but so far it's a Pandora's box in Hollywood, and it's a heck of a lot more than Hollywood, as we know.
It's true.
But hopefully, this guy's a pretty big mover and shaker.
Yes, he
or
is.
Was.
Yes, he is.
And hopefully it does have some far-reaching effects, and hopefully people who have been abused or victimized or whatever has happened to them, allegedly. Mm-hmm. I'm a guest. I can say whatever I want. They're not going to sue you for what I say. You're not responsible for the kind of crazy stuff I spew. Hopefully it does empower them to come forward and just say, hey, this happened to me. And we're seeing things that happened. Someone just came out today and said that Weinstein raped her in 1980. Mm-hmm. And so, and people would make reports and it was just dismissed.
Right.
So hopefully now this continues the trend. And it's a very good trend for people to speak out against this abuse. But I hope it continues and spreads much wider, because it's certainly not just Hollywood. It's every walk of life, and it would be really nice if it has extremely far-reaching effects, and affects people that I had mentioned earlier, who have said themselves and were caught on tape admitting to sexual assault, because that's all it is. Sorry, that's not locker room talk. That's claiming that it's okay to assault women, and there's nothing they can do about it. So there you are. As far as the business aspect goes, this has far-reaching aspects. We talked about it on our show, Cinema Savants, the other day, that Amazon had 2 different deals with the Weinstein Company. One of them was a project with Robert De Niro, and they've shelved that, and they'd already sunk $40 million into it.
Wow.
So now that's belly up, because they don't even want to be associated with the name, even though he's not associated with the company anymore.
Right.
So, and that's 1% of the story. I mean, that's just kind of like, oh, here's an interesting thing. It's costing some studios money, et cetera, which is like, okay, fine, they'll make it back some other way. Amazon will probably hike their Prime rate by a penny, and they'll make it back in a day. So I'm not too worried about Amazon losing money. That's for sure. This is, and again, I don't want to belittle the outrage over it, because it's well deserved, but it's not about one person. And if it opens people's eyes to that, this is a problem in our society, as opposed to, oh, there are some predators out there. And we have a society that enables that behavior.
Right.
That's true.
And in many cases actively encourages it. And they don't think of it that way, but that is exactly what they're doing.
Todd, before we close the show, I wanted to ask you about... There's one show that's currently that I believe just debuted on Netflix, Mindhunter.
Mindhunter, excellent.
I wanted to get your take on it really quick. If you did get a chance to see a couple of episodes, I was planning to start.
I finished the entire run of it earlier this afternoon. 10 episodes. It's a very different take on the police procedural, because they're the only crimes you see committed, you don't see the crimes committed, you just see, like, photographs, you see the evidence. It's a really interesting take. I remember when the book came out by John Douglas, who was one of the first profilers in the FBI.
Right.
And it's based loosely on that book, Mindhunter. And it's how the behavioral sciences unit really started, and how they got into the business of how they invented really profiling. That's what it's about. It starts off in a really awesome about 5-minute sequence, and then it's a little slow, but stick with it. It's really interesting how they develop this process. It's interesting how they show that the two lead agents have a very different approach to how they do the interviews with these really awful human beings, serial killers, how they actually came up with the terminology of serial killers and how they decided, there's organized and disorganized killers, and how they categorized it and how they decided they have to basically come up with a set questionnaire so they can really define what they're finding out. They made some missteps according to this, and of course it's fictionalized, so I kind of doubt that the bad things happened, but if they did, that's kind of cool because it shows that they were not infallible. Right. Mistakes are made along the way, let's just put it that way.
Okay.
But it's a really good show. It's definitely worth watching, and again, it's very different from any cop show I've ever seen because it's not a whodunit, it's a whodunit. And you don't really see that very often at all. Gotcha. Very, very interesting.
Todd.
Good cast. Good script.
Want to ask you best ways to get in contact with you, and when can we listen, and how often, to the Cinema Savants podcast? Well,
you can come by the house anytime after 6. I'm usually here. Or maybe at the beach on the weekends. CinemaSavants.com. And you can find us on the Twitter at Cinema Savants, or me personally at The Unreal Todd. We're podcasting. We're up on all sorts of various things. Just look for CinemaSavants.com. That's the easiest way to find it. Normally, Saturdays or Sundays are when the new episodes come up. And we did talk quite a bit about Weinstein yesterday, and we talked about Blade Runner 2049, as Rob likes to call it. So, a plug for Rob Steele, who was the smart one on the show.
Got you. Definitely want to have you come back so we can talk Blade Runner 2.
Yes, absolutely. 049. And one other really quick thing, Todd. When you were last on the show, I think Wonder Woman had just come out and you had reviewed it. And I had asked you about, should I catch it? And you said, yeah, it's one of the best movies that DC's come out with. Well, I finally did catch it just over this weekend. And
excellent.
Yes, I put it up there as the best thing since The Dark Knight.
Woo! Nice. By the way, Professor Marston and the Wonder Women, a really interesting drama on the guy who created Wonder Woman. And it will make about 1% of the money Wonder Woman made, but it's a really good movie.
Yeah, okay, good. I saw the previews for that, and I might catch that as well. So thank you, sir.
All right, thanks a lot, guys.
All right, thanks so much. Night. Thank you.
Take care. Always good talking to Todd.
Always great talking to him. Spent a lot of time with him a few years ago doing the Baseball, Beer, and Barbecue podcast.
Okay, I remember that.
Yes. And he failed to mention that he also does the Seahawks 12th Man Rising podcast.
He's a busy man.
Lee Val.
He's a busy man.
Yes, he is. But I don't know. It was a pretty diverse show. We were kind of all over the place. Not really knowing how to categorize this show because it wasn't all sports. It was a little entertainment. It was sports entertainment /
This was the variety. There you go. That's the title. The variety show.
Okay. Because I was going to say sports entertainment. I was like, are we the WWE?
We did news.
Right.
We did current events. We did sports.
Okay.
We did entertainment.
Okay.
We covered all the bases.
Well, that's good. I think we did our job.
Definitely. Well done. I think.
We did our job, and we'll do it again. Hopefully next week.
If they let us.
Hopefully next week. Well, the bill is paid, so
we'll be here. Okay.
We'll be here, and I guess best ways to get in contact with you?
You know me on the brand, Late Night Rich on Twitter.
All right, and
you?
The real Ted Hicks.
All right.
Wait, no, it's the and then @ real Ted Hicks. It's not the real Ted Hicks. It's just real Ted Hicks.
It's just real. So forget the.
Yeah,
just
get
real
the,
Ted Hicks.
The like I am the such and such.
But okay. But I am the real Richie V. But I'm also Late Night Rich. So.
All right.
And we are out of here. Everyone have a great week. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.